So this article is called The Genie. Okay. And, it's funny. And I don't know if I said this or somebody else said this the other day, but, there's this, I think it's like a Greek myth where this Greek guy ends up going and he finds basically a genie in the bottle and he can make one wish. And what ended up happening was this guy ends up wishing for eternal life, right? And as the years pass by, he keeps getting older and older, and he goes back to the genie and he's like, "Genie, I wished for eternal life. Why am I getting older?" He says, "Yeah, you wished for eternal life, but your body will age and desecrate according to the way a human body is supposed to until you're basically skull and bones." And so you have to definitely be careful what you wish for, essentially, and how you wish, because it is definitely a very, very powerful thing, but it can work to your detriment at the same time. Okay. So this is kind of what Arthur Hayes alludes to. And so you can see here, Arthur Hayes says, a genie is neither good or bad. It's the grantee's wish that we should judge, or the grantee's wish that we should judge. Every culture has moralistic stories about how misguided wishes aimed at achieving shortcuts to success, wealth, or personal happiness create unintended consequences. The moral of the story is that there is no easy button in life. All good things are the product of hard work and effort. And for those of you who have been here for probably more than a year, and for those of you that have seen the progress of the arc or even longer, I agree with this statement wholeheartedly. And it's you really have to be careful what you wish for, right? And you better be wishing right, but you also better be patient with your wishes. Now, he talks here a little bit about Bitcoin strategic reserves. So he starts off, this is the title of this part of the article. So he says, what can be bought can be sold. The fundamental problem when a governmental stockpiles any asset is that they buy and sell the asset primarily for political and not financial gains. Does Bitcoin in and of itself do anything for the US government when considering the current structure of the global economic system? No. Bitcoin is just another financial asset. While readers may believe it's the hardest money ever known, created by the one true God, Satoshi, I can guarantee you that the genie isn't motivated by spiritual need to please the Lord. He is motivated by placating a voter base that helped bring him into office. Let's assume Trump is able to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve. The government buys 1 million Bitcoins as suggested by US Senator Loomis. Boom, the price goes nuts. Then the buying concludes and the up-only trend channel stops. Fast forward to 2 to 4 years, by 2026, the Democrats could ride to victory on voter dissatisfaction that Trump failed to quell inflation, stop any of the forever wars, fix the food supply, drain the swamp, etc. What if they got a veto-proof majority in the House of Representatives? By 2028, what if a Democrat won the election? I'm not going to read what he wrote there because it's kind of gross, and I don't even want to speak those words because even if it's a joke. So to an incoming Democrat-controlled legislature or presidency, finding easy piles of cash to spend on goodies for their supporters is the first directive. It is the first directive of any politician, regardless of political system in practice. There are 1 million Bitcoin just sitting there ready to be sold. It just takes a signature on a piece of paper. The market would rightfully fear when and how these Bitcoins would be sold. Now, I highlighted this because this was really important. And again, this is where be careful what you wish for, because, and this is as a whole, for us, now that we do have a short strategy, which is Scorpio, yeah, it's great, right? When we're making money on up, down, and sideways markets, should you care about which direction the crypto market goes? In my opinion, yes. For the community, for the general faction of the entire world, yes, because I do believe as a whole, crypto is good, all right? And I think crypto is good for the financial system to even out the playing field. And so what I really want at the end of the day is for the crypto market to go up and stay up, not just, we get these pumps like we've gotten in the recent year, basically, where, boom, it went up it was definitely a nice run. It was a 5-6 month run in October through April, October of 2023 through April of 2024. But then we got this like god awful chop. And then we had this boom for 1 month in November. And then we've kind of like flagged out right now. We also have to be patient, and it talks about here, but the last thing we want is to go 2 years up only, but then we have another administration, which who knows, maybe they wouldn't be so hostile. Maybe they're like, hey, shoot, we can use this crypto to our advantage. It could blow up in our face, but you never know. Maybe they keep riding the coattails. My hope would be that they do. Now here it says Trump and Republican Party can look at a mooning price of Bitcoin, claim mission accomplished, and hustle David Bailey for more campaign donations at $10,000 per plate. Assuming he's basically talking about like the crypto market. And then, asking the Genie to grant this wish will lead to unnecessary pain in under 2 years. Okay. So he says the Frankenstein crypto bill. This is something that he's like very against. He says the easiest way to understand what crypto regulations hodler deems acceptable is to gaze into their portfolio. From my vantage point, far away from circus surrounding the Genie, it seems the folks who own a large stake in centralized crypto financial intermediaries are most likely to have their crypto regulatory wishes granted due to the amount of noise they generate. Unfortunately, those building truly decentralized tech and applications don't have the financial resources to play politics at this juncture of the cycle. And so the crypto regulatory wishes likely to be granted, if any are granted at all, will be in the form of overly complicated, prescriptive rules that only the large and wealthy centralized companies can afford, okay? Which that isn't really good, okay? To all you builders globally who are relocating to America because a perceived crypto-friendly administration, take heed. If you tactically support such an outcome, your startup is destined to fail. Monopolistic businesses cosseted by an impenetrable wall of gobbledygook regulations don't look kindly on actual innovation. They use their unique and privileged access to the system to chase away would-be usurpers, assuming, the little guy. You, the startup founder, might have flown to JFK in business class, but you will definitely leave in economy. All right, so that's, again, definitely not a good thing for people who are looking to innovate. And that's, by the way, that's us, right? That's definitely what we're trying to do, but we're starting to look like way more forward. All right, way more forward. And our vision is to become so big that we'd become a force to reckon with. And now these politicians do have to pander to us. But according to Hayes, this, for a lot of the, and by the way, like, how do we plan on doing it? Okay. See, most of these founders, what they're going to do is they're going to try to spin up their own coin or their own ecosystem, bring value, essentially. Okay, let's bring borrowing and lending to our thing, but we're going to have a little bit of a different of a spin, or we're going to have a decentralized internet or whatever, okay? It really boils down to this. Is it truly making money? And that's why, we're so focused on finding traders that already have a proven track record that can get us there much faster, right? And then we're going to build the tech around it to keep compounding and compounding and compounding. That's what our vision is. That's what our job is right now, right? But somebody who's just coming up with a decentralized this or a decentralized that, who knows? They may end up getting eaten alive by some of these laws that the United States comes with. Now, does that mean that like they shouldn't move? I mean, this is just one author's opinion. Who knows? Maybe it could be this huge thing of innovation. But according to this author, no, it's not. It could be very dangerous for the entrepreneur or solopreneur. So the overarching goal of two of Trump's most essential lieutenants, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and U.S. Secretary of Marco Rubio, is to reform the global economic order to preserve the dollar and American hegemony. So he goes through and kind of and breaks down the many years starting from the Bretton Woods Agreement. That's basically when the whole world agreed that the United States dollar would be the reserve currency. But this was the part that I found interesting. So China was not, by the way, he says things in here that are not PC. So I'm sorry. So China was not content being a yellow bitch of Pax Americana. Remember that China regards the 20th century as one of humiliation. Weak emperors signed unequal treaties with Western powers. Subsequently, the two world wars and civil war destroyed the country. Throughout most of pre-European Renaissance antiquity, China was the largest economy globally. It became a stated goal of the Chinese Communist Party to reclaim the glory for the Chinese people. MAGA ain't just an American thing. The Chinese have been doing it since 1949. To accomplish this goal, China transformed itself from a low-cost, low-quality producer to a low-cost, high-quality producer, as it became very clear that buying more and more treasuries with surpluses further cemented the role of China as a junior power to America. The Chinese leadership stopped accumulating treasuries. Under the old unspoken agreement, a dollar of export surplus must buy a dollar of treasuries. Over the last 12 months of public data, China earned $1 trillion in export surplus, but allowed its treasury stockpile to fall by 14 billion. And that's a lot. I think that's 14%. No, 1.4%. 1.4% it's allowed itself to stop buying treasuries. And that was this was one of the things, guys and gals, that was giving the dollar so much power, was that, there was this agreement that China would be buying treasuries, okay? And the more people that are buying treasuries, the more value that it has, okay? The more scarce it becomes because they're buying and they're holding those treasuries and getting a yield off of it, okay? Other export nations have taken note, and the majority of fast-growing global South trades more with China than with America, even though most of this trade is invoiced in dollars. De-dollarization is not about ditching the dollar per se, but about investing surpluses in assets not approved by the elites in Pax Americana. This brings me to the dilemma of Trump's lieutenants face. They need to create a new system that retains dollars as the invoicing currency for trade and invest in a reserve asset that allows them to maintain a well-functioned U.S. Treasury bond market. If they are really badasses, they will engineer a solution that quickly reduces the U.S. Publicly held debt to GDP to around 30%, which is where it stood in the year 2000. Right now, it's sitting at about 120% or more, maybe even. Can somebody look that up? So, anyways, he goes into here this breakdown, kind of like of the example of why DeepSeek is so relevant.